What exactly the Jenkins pipeline is? The Jenkins pipeline being used for fully automations of our build and delivery process. We'll discuss further and elaborate all the details, okay, in theoretical first, and then we'll jump into the lab exercise, and I'll show you how we can easily write the pipeline script, right? And I'll show you how you write the syntax from the scratch and how you easily remember the syntax, because these are things which you are going to face in the interviews, okay? So if you see this diagram here, it completely says shows here checkout, like one the stages, different type of stages here, okay, stages and steps on the tasks, all these things being added here. So here you can see here checkout, build, test, okay, and the staging server and production server. You can see here during the testing, it being tested parallelly within both the web browser like the Firefox and Edge, right? So you can how you can run the pipelines parallelly, that also we'll see in our classes. Okay, so let's see what exactly the pipeline is. So Jenkins, as we know, right, Jenkins is an open source continuous integration server. It is an open source continuous integration server which has the ability to support the automation of software development processes. So we can create multiple automations job with the help of use cases and run them as a Jenkins pipeline. So multiple automations, we can create multiple automations jobs. So in our freestyle jobs, what we used to do, we just used to log into the automation server, and there manually we'll set off the jobs by selecting various options, right? By selecting various options, and we'll just run the jobs manually, create a freestyle jobs and all. So what is the major difference actually creating a freestyle job and pipeline is, like whenever you need a need immediately ad hoc, right, an ad hoc job to be created. So you need to execute something very quickly, which is required for your delivery or is required for a report generation or something like that. So it will not have some time to write the entire pipeline, right, to execute a task which is require more automations to be written in the pipeline. So in that case, what you can do, you can easily go there and just create a freestyle job which will execute your commands or execute your simple job, which will generate some report or deliver something or something which is needed immediately, right? So what exactly the pipeline further it does? So here are the reasons why you should use the Jenkins pipeline. So Jenkins pipeline is implemented as a code which allows multiple users to edit, execute the pipeline process. So what happened here? In case of freestyle job, what happens? Whoever has created, suppose I have created with my login credentials, will have permissions to edit the jobs. Okay, but in case of Jenkins pipeline, it is allowed to multiple users to edit and run as for their need. Okay, suppose I created a pipeline in my branch, in my repository, and I created a simple branch, and I created a Jenkins file, and I wrote all the pipeline whichever is required for my automation. And suppose tomorrow Sunil needs to add something new features into that. What he has to do simply has to clone my repository or just create a new branch and edit as per his requirement and run the pipeline. So multiple users can edit the pipelines, which again adds more flexibility, right? So edit, execute the pipeline process. So pipelines are robust. So if your server undergoes an unforeseen restart, the pipeline will be automatically resumed. Okay. In case if you started a pipeline and suppose your server got restarted, so your pipeline will automatically will start when it was stopped. Okay. We can pause the pipeline process and make it wait to resume until there is an input from the user. So we have options to parameterize the automations process. Sometimes what happens, after the build process, you want to deliver to a particular environment, okay, delivery delivered to a particular environment. So what you have to do, it will just wait for a parameter like the server name. Suppose you want to pass where it want to be delivered, then you can pass the server. Or there could be an approval button, right? There could be an approval button. If you see, the build process has completed successfully, as we have seen in our email notifications, right? In our email notifications, what happens? All the after the build success or failure, we used to get or receive the email notifications. Suppose once the email notifications we receive and everything is okay and our manager is happy and wants to approve it, so you can easily go there and approve by selecting the input options, right? Approve, then it will be delivered. So there will be multiple things, multiple use cases we can achieve using the pipeline. So what happens here? Jenkins pipeline support big projects. You can run multiple jobs and even use pipelines in a loop. As I said, we are going to work and completely write fully automated script. And we are going to use the Jenkins domain specific language, that is DSL, where we have to write the code, and for multiple tasks, or for various other options, we can use conditions, we can use loops. Okay, that facility is also there. I'll show you how we can do it easily. Okay? It's very easy, guys. Don't get confused, right? You have to learn again some script or some language to write it down. No, it's not required. It's very simple, but you have to learn a little bit groovy scripting, and that will be very easy. You can easily write it down. Okay. So to write all these Jenkins automations, we have to write this automations and pipeline script in a file that's called Jenkins file. Okay, that's called Jenkins file. It is a simple text file which will have all the pipeline script inside it. It will not have any extension, no .txt, nothing. Simply Jenkins file. Remember, Jenkins file, and J should be in uppercase. J should be in uppercase, Jenkins file. So you can implement pipeline as code using Jenkins file, and this can be defined by using a domain specific language like the DSL. Like that language, whatever we are going to write, it is only specifically being used for Jenkins only. That's why domain specific language. Okay. Sorry. The benefits of using Jenkins file are you can create pipeline automatically for all branches and execute pull requests with just one Jenkins file. I'll show you how we can create only one Jenkins file and create multiple branches. Okay, multiple branches and multiple users can work on those Jenkins file and can execute simultaneously, right? So those things, everything we'll see after this pipeline concept is over. So you can review your code on the pipeline. Yes, exactly. Whenever we write the code, right? Any changes required, any audit purpose or anything, we can simply just view the code and see the quality of the code. Manager can see how the quality, because whenever we are writing and delivering something to the customer, right? And you are writing for any automations and delivering something to the customer has to approve the quality of the code and the quality of the things you are writing, right? So you can review your code, your manager can review, your senior people can review your code and everything, because it's easily available on the source code management. So that is the one. And the other thing is you can audit your Jenkins file. Yes, as I said, and this is the singular source for your pipeline and can be modified by multiple users. Can be modified by multiple users. Okay. So let's see how we can write the pipeline syntax. There are two types or two ways we can write. One is the declarative method, another one is a scripted one. Declarative one and scripted one. So we'll see the both ways how we can write the code. Okay, declarative pipeline syntax offers an easy way to create pipelines. So remember, guys, these are the simple basic questions, but most of the guys, they'll ask you, most of the interviews, they'll ask you if the interview, whoever is taking your interview, if he is so experienced, then he may not ask you this silly basic questions. He may ask you to write a syntax. He will give you a scenario, and will tell you to write the code, and you have to share your screen, and you have to just write the code for him. And that could be very basics, guys. And we should remember the syntax of the code, how you are going to write it, whether it is declarative or scripted. Some people, they used to ask how many ways you can write the pipeline code. That could be two ways, right? Two types of, like, declarative and scripted. Okay, so what the declarative does, declarative pipeline syntax offers an easy way to create pipelines, and it contains a predefined hierarchy to create Jenkins pipelines. It gives you the ability to control all aspects of pipeline executions in a simple, straightforward manner. What about the scripted? Scripted Jenkins pipeline runs on Jenkins master. With the help of lightweight executors, it uses very few resources to translate the pipeline into atomic commands. Both declarative and scripted syntax are different from each other and are defined totally differently. Okay, so whenever we just write inside the declarative scripted or declarative method, we can write the scripted one also. As it says, scripted, it with the help of lightweight executor, it executes on the Jenkins master. So we'll see how we can execute the scripted method inside the declarative one also. We'll separately write and show you what is the declarative, what is the scripted one. Okay, so let's see what is the difference and how differently we can write the both declarative and scripted syntax. Okay, so if we go to the Jenkins, right? Let me just close this one. If you go to the Jenkins here, Jenkins.io, okay, go to the documentations here, go to the documentations, and just go here to the pipeline sections. As I told always, and always I used to tell the people, always you have to follow the documentations of each language or technologies or tool, whatever you are using, because it has more details available. You can get more details, updated details, everything you can find it in the documentations. Okay, so you have to follow it. Now go to the pipeline here, and here in this pipeline syntax, it is given what exactly the pipelines we just discussed about this, and there is a different type of, like, the declarative versus scripted pipelines, why we use to declarative way, and why we need the pipeline. It's the code, durable and perceivable, versatile, extensible, all these things been available for why we need to use the pipelines and all. Okay, so what happens here? Jenkins is fundamentally an automation engine. Yes, we know Jenkins is an automation server or automation engine which supports a number of automation patterns. Pipeline adds a powerful set of automation tools into Jenkins, supporting use cases and span from simple continuous integration to comprehensive CD pipelines. Whenever we talk about the CD, it could be your continuous delivery or continuous deployment. We can achieve the deployment from the Jenkins itself also. Most of the companies, they're using Jenkins to do direct deployment. Okay, so these are the things we are going to achieve it. And if you see this pipeline diagram with the elaborated way, whatever I was showing you the stages, right? Let me little increase this page size. Okay, so if you go here, development process, and the development people, they'll be just writing the code and using the Jenkins, they'll just start building that one. What will happen? First, the source code commit will be done by the development team. Once it's committed, the workflow will start. Okay, so we have, I think, discussed about the source polling things and webhook things. I think I have not discussed it. So let's complete this pipeline. Then we'll discuss about the polling mechanism, how the triggers happens in the Jenkins, how the triggering techniques being happened in the Jenkins by using poll SCM or by using GitHub hook triggering option. Okay. So here what happens, the workflow starts and automatically the first stage will be the source code management checkout. The second stage will be build or launch anything, whether you can use that to build something Docker. That could be multiple builds. There could be steps of multiple, right? We can build multiple in node 1, node 2, the parallel builds. If you want a robust big applications and you want that applications to be built on multiple servers, okay, what will happen, you can just write it down to execute those things parallelly on different nodes or different slave machines or different agent, so that we can reduce the time, execution time. Okay, suppose one build takes 10 minutes and if we run parallelly, it will take 10 minutes also, because we are running parallelly. All the builds will start parallelly on different machines, and if suppose takes 10 minutes, then all 3 builds, if you are going to execute, it will also be completed within the 10 minutes. If we run it sequentially, then what will happen? It should take 30 minutes, right? Extra 20 minutes it will take to complete, because it is dependent. One should complete first and then sequentially you are going to execute. That option is also available by using this parallel options. We can execute multiple builds on multiple servers. Different next.
So what is the right way to have this configured? Is it like parallel or sequential? Like what is the standard like companies follow?
Yes. So as I said, a company follows it's up to your requirement. It depends on your requirement. If your requirement, suppose there, again, also availability of the resources. If you don't have the multiple resources available, then you cannot run it parallel. You have to run it in sequentially. So the company policy, there is not specific with related to this ways, whether you are going sequentially or you are going to parallelly. It's up to you. As a DevOps engineer, you have to suggest. Suppose you are you're thinking you have two, as I said, if suppose you have 3 builds and it is taking one build 10 minutes, if it's consuming more time 30 minutes, then if you have resource availability, if you have agents available, if you have node available and you don't want to wait for 30 minutes, you can segregate the task to different, you can write the parallel things, right? It's up to you how you want to take it. It's not the company one. Company will not.
So, but we have the control to the way that we want to launch, right?
Exactly.
Why I'm saying, let's say I deployed. See, environment to environment, we don't anticipate any issues, but sometimes we get into issues. Let's say the same code works fine in stage, but moving to production, we may get some errors which we did not anticipate it. So in that case, is it possible that I will deploy in one, like it is a sequential manner, but I will deploy one, and with that instance, I will go for smoke testing, and then if everything is fine, then go for the second and third. Is that also possible? Or sequential means it will deploy all at one after another, and then go for testing?
Yeah. So that's also one way you can do it. Suppose what happens, the scenario, whatever you told, right? Sequentially, if you want to make sure that whatever things you want to execute first is success, and then you execute the other one. Okay, that has a dependency, or you want to make sure you don't want to come again and do all these things, because you want to sequentially one after one another, you want to go. If you want to, if you see, right, there is no concrete binding, right? If there is no concrete dependency, and if you think if you run it parallelly, there will be no impact with anything. Suppose one example I'll give you. Suppose if you want, as you said, like if you'll do integration testing and then smoke testing, yes. So if you are running this parallel, if you see this diagram on the stage testing, right? If you have integration testing 1, 2, and 3, suppose a number of integration testing, it is being performed, and it will be similarly same time it will be performed some smoke testing and end-to-end testing. Okay, sometimes what happen, these stages when you'll do after you complete the sequentially and each steps are success, So remember guys, whenever we are going to deliver a product to the client or to the customer, before that we make sure that everything has been tested successfully, then we'll hand over to the client, right? So it's up to you, the DevOps engineer or the development team, how you want to complete your task, right, within the stipulated time, and how you want to perform it. First, you suppose you went sequentially, you completed it, and you saw everything is going fine, and it takes 1 hour to do the testing. And then you have to do multiple testing, right? In one testing, you cannot give to the customer. So suppose you have other 5 or 6 testings are yet to be done. In that case, what you can do, you can run it parallelly, right?
Okay.
In case, so that you can save the time, and you can execute multiple testing and deliver to the client. So first, that's why I said you, it's up to you how you provide it, how you take it. But a DevOps engineer, because you will be not only a DevOps, you'll be an architect also. You'll be a solution architect, which you have to should have capacity to design something. It automatically will come. There will be lots of things whenever you are going to do the automations. You have to always find a way to make the delivery or make the integrations easy way, right? You have to always find a solution for that.
Yeah, why I came with this question. Let's suppose we deploy everything and there is a problem in the code which did not identified in stage, and when we move to production, it breaks. So in that case, when we have deployed everything into our running production environments, then rollback may also take some more time. So the overall time for your the overall downtime may increase. So the other question that I was having, so for deployment, most of the companies are now following this blue-green strategy, right? So there will be active instances which will be running the production, but the deployment will happen to a different set of instances, and it will be tested. Everything is fine. Then we'll just make the active instance as inactive and make this instance which is upgraded as active. Exactly. And it starts serving. So that can also be achieved with this Jenkins pipeline, right?
Exactly. That can be achieved in this Jenkins. As I said, like there are other tools also available, like as you know, like for these system related issues, like as you said, like if it is tested in test environment and it breaks in productions, for that you are saying like you are going for this blue red method logic, right? Deploying in some active servers, and then if it is successfully done in production, suppose we'll have multiple production server, and if deployed successfully, then we'll inactive the other one, and then active that one after successful done. But here in DevOps also, like as you know already, Docker will be available, right? Most of the companies are going Dockerizing or containerizing their applications. These kinds of system related issues will not happen if we are going to implement the containerizations in our things, right? The same things, whatever we are building, if we are going to build on a Docker platform, right? If you're going to build a container into a container, and the same containers are going to be deployed on multiple servers, so that can easily solve the problem, right? We are not going to, that is what the containerization is highly demand, and people are going to use the containerizations. So whatever things you are telling is the currently what the companies are doing, right? Most of the companies, they will have a multiple instances of production environment, and they will be deployed first into there, and then similarly, actually this is the older technique which already exists for long years, right? Suppose we'll have always a production server will have always a DR server, right? If something happens to the production environment, immediately the DR will get activated, and then we'll roll back everything into the productions to the older version and then activate. The same concept few companies are using with extra instances and all. But to overcome all these headaches and everything, this containerizations is a very good technique. This technologies which is going to be adopted, already being adopted by multiple companies, right? That can be achieved. So we are going to learn this Docker also, Mandar. So that will be very good actually if you're going to choose these containerizations and everything. That will be very good. So this entire diagram, if you see, we are going to achieve all these things, different stages. Within the different stages, we'll have multiple steps, and then we'll have multiple tasks inside it. Okay, this is the entire flow. Let's discuss further. So these are the pipeline concept. I hope you understood clearly, Sunil, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So here the pipeline concepts here, the pipeline and what exists this node. The pipeline concept, as I said, that different options will be available, right? Different stages. So what is this pipeline concept? What exactly the keywords available? Pipeline, as we say, pipeline is a user-defined model of a CI and CD pipeline. The pipeline's code defines your entire build process, which typically includes stages for building an application. So we'll have multiple stages and steps inside the pipe. So what is this stage and what is the node? A node is a machine which is part of the Jenkins environment and is capable of executing a pipeline. That means in our slave and node architecture, right? Sorry, master and slave architecture, or master and node architecture, or agent, master and agent, or node agent architecture, right? We had seen to execute multiple jobs into multiple machines, multiple nodes, right? What exactly the node is? Node is a server, is a machine which is capable of executing the task which is being delivered by the master. Okay, which is going to be delivered by the master. The nodes should have that capability to execute the task. Okay, so that is a node, and we have to specify, right? As I say, right, we can execute the things parallelly with the different servers. Sometimes what happens, as I said, your like building process will be taking, suppose, hours of time, 2 to 3 hours, if you are executing on single server. And if you want to segregate and break it down to multiple server, which is not the stages which are not dependent, or the steps which are not dependent, right? If there are 5 stages, suppose stage 3 and 4 are not dependent to stage 2 or 5, they can be run parallelly. Okay, and that's why we'll see everything in actions and lab. Okay, so what exactly a stage is? A stage block defines a conceptually distinct subset of tasks performed through entire pipeline. It is a stage block defines conceptually distinct subset of tasks. You want to run some specific task, then you have to create a block or stage. Under the stage will have multiple steps. So what the step is? So a stage is a block and a step is a single task which you want to execute it, and the stages will have multiple steps inside it. One stage will have multiple steps inside it, and the step contains only the single task, right? A single task, fundamentally a step, tells Jenkins what to do at a particular point in time. Whether we are going to execute a command or we are going to send out a notifications or email, inside the steps you can write the code also, either conditions, looping, everything you can do. It will be a single task. Okay. So these are the things, only node stage steps. That's all you are going to put it in our pipeline syntax. Let's see. And guys, it's very easy for the pipeline syntax. See, if you see it here, how exactly we are going to run this pipeline. See, so let me show you clearly how you'll write it down. Okay. If you're first, let me just give you in a declarative way. Okay, declarative type. How you'll dive. What we'll do here, suppose simply I'm just going to write I'm just going to write it here, like you have to write pipeline. Okay, so that's all, pipeline. Then we'll have agent. Okay, and which agent you are going to execute. Then you have to give the agent name, labels. Okay, suppose I'll give finance machine fin Mac. This is the label where the agent or where the build is going to be executed. Okay, then on the agent, then you have to write the stages, right? There are multiple other things also are there. When we'll just do, I'll tell you how to write. There will be other parameters, environment variables, different tool setup, everything we can do after, just before the stages, we'll have the stages block. So inside the stages block, we'll have multiple stages. Okay, simple. Then I'll just have another stage also. I can write another stage here. Right? So each stage will contain the steps. Okay? Each stage will contain the step, right? So inside this step, you can write the task which need to be executed. Okay. Hello. Something I did step, and this suppose I'll write another step here. Okay. There you go. Suppose this is testing, and I'll write it here. DevOps. Sorry. Suppose I want this step to be building. Okay. In this case, I'll just give this as build, and you have to give a name to that. Okay. Test. Something I gave. Simple. It's very simple to write, right? So you have to remember the syntax, guys. I am telling why. Because if you're going to attend any interviews, they'll definitely ask. If the interviewer will be experienced guy, he'll not ask you the basic silly questions. He'll directly ask you to share your screen and just write one. He'll just tell you one scenario and tell you to write the pipeline syntax. He wants to know whether you have really written the pipeline code for automations or not. Okay, and if you're good with that, then they'll ask. See, there are Jenkins has a very huge requirement in the market, okay, for continuous integration and continuous delivery for CI/CD setup, and it has very few questions they'll ask you. And if you're good with those questions, and they'll give scenarios, and you have to tell those scenarios. All these things we'll discuss after this Jenkins class. There are multiple projects I'm going to also do. And in that time, I'll just show you how those kind of questions will come, and how you can tackle those kind of things. Now, what I need, I want to execute these things. So what I have to do, I have to put everything in a file called Jenkins file. You have to store this in a Jenkins file. As we don't have a label of FinMac, what I can do, I can simply remove this and put any. That means it will be run on any available agent or machine. So here I have only one machine, that is the master is available. So if I give any means it will be executed on the master machine. Okay. So if you want to run this in a particular agent or particular machine, then you have to provide the labels. We'll discuss the labels things. Already we have discussed, and I showed you in our master and slave setups, right? When I'll do a project, that time again also I'll show you this agent setup and how we'll run on multiple agents parallelly. That also I'll show you in our project. Now I want to save this in a Jenkins file. Sorry, let me save it. Control S. And suppose I want to save it in my desktop. Good. And it should be Jenkins file, Jenkins file, Jenkins, J capital, Jenkins file, no extension, nothing. Save it. Already a file exists. Okay. So let me rename that file first. Okay. So I'm not sure what exactly it contains. So better I just rename it. Okay. So let me save this one. Jenkins file J capital. Okay. So I'll save in desktop, save it, got it. And I want to execute this pipeline. I want to execute this pipeline. How I'll execute? This is one simple syntax I showed you how to write. You can write hundreds or thousands of line of code here in Jenkins file, guys. This is just a simple basic syntax I showed you. You can write hundreds of lines, thousands of lines in the Jenkins file. Okay, so we'll see how we can write it with multiple ways by using different shared library concept, by reusing the code and all, so that it will minimize of writing the Jenkins file. We have to minimal write in the Jenkins file, and we'll get higher advanced, the multiple advanced by using the shared library concept. Okay, that will be the advanced concept, and which we are going to learn at the end of this class. Okay, fine. Now this is the basic Jenkins file or automations I'm going to run in my Jenkins. Okay, so let me first log in. Oh my god, okay, I'm not logged into my account. Let me quickly start the Jenkins server. I forgot to start it. Should be okay, what is that? The password is wrong, I think. Okay. 72. Wrong password I gave. Should be correct. Okay. So I'll just quickly start my instance. Okay, Jenkins server. I forgot to start it before the class actually. So Jenkins server. Okay, so what you have to do first, you have to, okay, before it gets starts, let's finish other tasks. So I'll show you how we can real time how we work in the project. Okay, suppose you are assigned to a project, and that application or the project, whatever you're going to work, and you want to automate in the Jenkins, you want to write for the continuous building and delivery. So how you'll do for the continuous building, you would have continuous scanning of code, continuous testing of code, because unit testing will be also be part of that, right? Continuous integrations you have to perform that also. How you'll achieve this one? How you will achieve this one, right? Suppose on the real time, how you are, you get all the repository details, the project repository details from your development team. Okay, as it is a collaborations work between your development team, you have to coordinate with the development team whenever you get the requirement to get the project details, how you manually build it, how you what are the steps involved, what is the configurations file, everything you have to get all the details from the development team. Without that, you may not write the automation. So because you need more requirements, you have to gather all the informations before you are writing the automations, right? That is the nature, right? If you whenever you are going for any automations, you should be familiar with the manual steps. You should be familiar with the manual steps before writing any automations. Fine. Now you get the project URL from your development team. Now what you have to do, you have to just log in your GitHub account. So suppose you get this is the project, suppose DevOps Web, this is the project you got from your development team. Now, and you got your master branch, this is what they said with you. What you have to do, you have to automate the stuff too for building and testing, suppose, right? So you have to obviously create a branch on your name or any your branching technique or the policy or the rules for being followed by your organizations. Okay, suppose I'll just create as a test slash b6, sorry, b6, I'll give us b6 demo 1.1. So I created a branch here, right, from the master, which is being shared by the team, by the development team. I don't need all these details, right? All these things, which is not required. Sometimes you have to delete those files from the repositories. Sometimes you have to delete those files from the repositories. Now, what I have to do, suppose I will quickly go ahead and delete these files. Okay, this class path is not required. I'll quickly delete it. Just bear with me some time. A project is not required because it's already being sometimes being built, already being built, being done by the development team manually. And those hidden files, I can say those hidden files can be added into the things, right? Added into the project. So you don't have to keep those things, those junks files. You have to delete it, right? Simply delete those things. I could have done it easily by using the Git CLI, but I don't. I will show you from here itself. Let's delete it. So you have to always think the way which can be easily you can do the things, right? That's why you with automations. That's why we are being going to learn as a DevOps engineer, right? 1 second. Let me complete everything and good. So here it is. We are being created a branch. We created a branch test b6 demo 1.1, and we are having this things, the project code, everything we received from the development team. Now we are going to add our automations into this GitHub project and then build using the Jenkins. What I'll do, this Jenkins file, whatever I have written, right, I'm going to add into the main folder, the parent folder of the project, which we received from the development team. Okay, now let's go ahead, upload a file, and that Jenkins file will be uploaded here. Okay, choose your file here. Jenkins file, upload it here. Commit the changes. Good. So our Jenkins file is uploaded into the main parent folder of the project. See, this is the things, simple things being uploaded. Now, how I'll do the job setup, pipeline job setup in the Jenkins. Let's go ahead and log into your Jenkins server. Okay, quickly log into your Jenkins server. I'll quickly complete this one. Just bear around 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll complete it. The basic things, basic syntax. Then from tomorrow classes, we will do the real-time project by building a Java project. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. So then, so log into your server, and you have to create a job. Go to the new item, as you already know. Give a project like first pipeline project b6, and you have to select the type of item name. Once you gave it, the type of job you want to create. Already we saw about the freestyle project. Now we'll see about the pipeline job, right? Select the pipeline. Okay, and what do you have to do here? Just give a descriptions as it is meaningful. You have to provide the descriptions. The build trigger, I think the build trigger, poll SCM, and GitHub trigger, GitHub hook trigger and poll SCM we have not discussed, I think, in the batch 6. But in your batch, I think I have not discussed about this. Maybe I'll discuss in our tomorrow classes what exactly this poll SCM and GitHub hook how it works. Okay, and what are the various build trigger options. So for the time I'm just leaving it, not adding anything else. Go to the advanced project options. It's also not required for the advanced project options, leave it. We need to work on this pipeline things. Okay, pipeline things, we can see here we'll have two different options like pipeline script or pipeline script from source code management, SCM. So when we select this pipeline script, that means whatever you write, right? Suppose the same things, this code, if you want to execute directly in the code pan here, save it and save it. Okay, so we created the pipeline job here now. If I want to build it, you can directly build and it will execute the pipeline. So it is failed. Let's see why it is failed. That could be some syntax error. Unknown state section step. Why? Okay, there is a typo, guys. It should be not stage step. It's steps. Okay, it's steps. Save it. So what we do here? Go to your server. Type in here. Copy entire things. Back to project. Configure it. Just re-add, save it. Till now, you'll get multiple failures. Sometimes typo, sometimes some syntax error, sometimes command does not exist, sometimes the module not found. You'll get lots of errors. Okay, so this time is success. If I go here, you can see building and testing. It has complete the syntax, the code has successfully worked. Now we saw how we can execute this, only by using the pipeline script directly in the script snippet here, whatever we used it. Now there will be another options called pipeline script from source code management, which you are going to use this one all the time, right? Whenever you're writing in your code in your company. Go to select source code management. Now you have to select which options, either Git, GitLab, SVN, whatever you are using. Select Git and remote repository URL, which repository URL you want to use it. So you have to provide the repository URL where your code is available. Okay, so what you have to do here, just select DevOps Web. Now copy this one, and what you have to do it here, just paste the URL, save it here. The credentials is not required as it is public. I'm not going to tell you and show you because you already know how to set up the credentials for the private things. Okay, for private you have to just add the user ID and password so that you can access the private one. For public is not required, that's okay. Now the branch, I'm not going to execute the master, right? So what I have to do, you have to simply provide the branch which you want to execute. So I'll suppose want to execute this one. What is the branch? It is test/b6 demo 1.1. test/b6 demo 1.1. So test/b6 demo 1.1. This is the branch I want to execute. Done. And the repository behavior and the script path should be Jenkins file. Script path should be Jenkins file. Save it. Okay, I saved it now. Now let me just, I don't, this is disturbing. What I need this, I'll just go here and I edit. I think there is some problem with this Jenkins file, right? Okay, let me edit it. It should be steps, right? Now commit the changes. What I'll do here, I'll simply go ahead and build now. Based on the things written in the pipeline code, it will be executed. So what it does first, by default, it is just cloning the repository to the workspace. So you know already how the Jenkins works. based on the jobs you create, it will create a workspace. But the name of the job, it will create a workspace, and in the workspace it will download and everything from the internet and from the project. Based on the project configuration it's set up, it will download and save it, and from there it will execute it. Okay, so this workspace is created on the master, and these are the steps get executed: building and testing. Now let's add another steps and see how it works. I'll simply, if you want, Phil, you need to add another stage or another steps. So what you'll do, you have to just log into the, you just have to edit the Jenkins file here and the stages. If you want to add another stage here, simply write the stage, okay? And here, just write it like delivery, okay? Now here, I'm going to add steps. Simple echo statement I'm writing. Okay, then that is just delivered the code. This is simply echo statement. I wrote it here, but in our 2 more classes, we'll do the real-time code. How we'll do the building by writing the code, how we'll add the tools, how we'll do the testing, how we'll do the delivery to the Tomcat server. We'll see how the applications or Java WAR file being delivered. Everything will write it in the code in our tomorrow's classes. Okay, now let me set this commit changes. And if I go here and execute it, just build now, we'll have another stage here, deliver. See, we'll have another stage here, deliver. Good, building, testing, and deliver. So we saw here the basic syntax, how we can write the pipelines. We understood how, what is the exactly pipeline code and how we can write the pipeline code. Okay, and from the scratch also we saw, and so how to write the syntax and very basic pipeline, and we wrote it. Hope you understood how we can execute this pipeline. There is not much to say about this one. Whenever we do the real-time project, maybe on the tomorrow classes, we'll do a complete real-time end-to-end project, and that time I'll show you for each steps how we can write multiple other codes in the different stages with conditions and all. Okay, looping, everything will add it here. Okay, guys, that's all for today's class. Maybe we can wind up this class now. Let me stop recording where it is.